It's the morning show on 1500 WGHT.
Let Farmers Insurance help you choose the coverage you need for the vehicles that make life more fun. Motorcycles, boats, and RVs. Whatever your pleasure, Farmers has the coverage you need for peace of mind. And as always, Farmers can protect your income and assets should the unexpected happen. Let Farmers review your portfolio and make sure it's working the best for you now and into the future. Visit your local Farmers Insurance agent at the Glenn Huther Agency, 256 Wanacue Avenue in Pompton Lakes, 973-658-4221. Visit them today and rest easy tomorrow. 973-658-4221. The Glenn Huther Agency.
And joining us this morning, I'm Greta Latona, Jimmy Howes, 8:37. That's your time. This is WGHT Radio. Glenn Huther of the Farmers Insurance Agency, right on Wanacue Avenue, Pompton Lakes. He joins us this morning on the morning show to tell us what is really, there's some new things in insurances. So he's here to talk about them. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Greta. Thank you.
Hi, Glenn. Jimmy Howes. Nice to...
Hey, how you doing, Jimmy?
All right, good to talk to the guy in the picture.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Right away, what is going on with these poor people who have to get flood insurance, who maybe didn't have to have flood insurance before? There are a lot of people hurting financially, trying to come up with premium money. This is a major issue in our listening area. This is a major nail in people's side right now, and something that you could burn a hole in your stomach worrying about.
Absolutely. I mean, flood insurance in general is not something that, it does not come cheap at all. Especially if, you're in the flood zones and your house is not elevated. That's when your prices really seem to, start to go up, which some of the houses, unfortunately, down there in that, bad flood area down in Pompton Lakes and Wayne, those houses were never elevated because they didn't necessarily flood before.
Yeah, Oakland, too.
And Oakland,
Let's start from block one. Just as if you're talking to someone who doesn't have a clue, can you explain the history of flood insurance? How did the idea come about?
Yeah, I mean, the basics of flood insurance, came basically from natural disasters throughout the years, going back into the 50s and 60s. They had to come up with some type of program, that
Sure.
would make sense for the insurance companies and for homeowners. And, over time they developed the NFIP through FEMA. Mm-hmm. And basically what they do is they map out the country to where there's rising water. Rising water is your flood water. So that could be rivers, streams, lakes. And, with those maps, they have what's called the base flood elevation. And that is where the water, at that point would start, going through whatever floor level is at that base flood elevation. So point being that flood elevation certificate is what's going to determine whether or not you're going to be paying a higher premium or a discounted premium on your flood insurance.
In order for you to purchase a home, if you're not a wealthy individual who can pay cash for your house, a bank is not going to risk loaning you money unless you have flood insurance. The average American cannot afford to pay a house cash. And you have people who have mortgages, second mortgages, and the bank says, hey, wait a minute. Your house is in a flood area or is now in a flood area that wasn't. We're not going to allow you to carry a mortgage from us unless you get flood insurance.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it doesn't even have to necessarily be the actual house itself in the flood zone. If you have a piece of your property,
Yep.
Well, it could be a foot of your property that's in the flood zone. They'll require you to get flood insurance, unfortunately.
And that's the uproar in Passaic County in this area. The flood maps are redrawn. Areas that weren't are, people are scared. As you well know, the bank is going to say, you need flood insurance or you're not getting a mortgage.
Yeah, and best thing to do is, go. There's plenty of places for you to go for questions and answers. Obviously, you're an insurance professional. I'd be happy to help, as your local agent. But, whoever you'd like to use, they should be able to go there for some answers. But floodsmart.gov for flood insurance really has a lot of questions and answers. So I would direct people, if you have some time, to just go on the internet and do a Google search for floodsmart.gov and take a look around.
So that's the first step, getting a quote for flood insurance. Educate yourself and then deal with a reputable insurance representative like yourself. Come down to the office. You're a straight-up guy. and as honest as the day is long. This is exactly where and who you want to talk to about this mess that probably is causing you sleepless nights, especially a lot of people in our listening area. The Glenn Huther Agency specializes in flood insurance and can answer every one of your questions, but you do want to be a little educated why you need flood insurance, because you're not going to get a mortgage without it.
Absolutely, yep. And it could cost, depending on how much coverage and what flood zone and how the elevations are on your house, you could be paying $3,000 extra a year.
Oh.
But in the same breath, you could be paying $500 for the year.
Yeah.
So elevation certificates, are the most important aspect of getting a quote as far as the insurance goes. But like you said, education, for those people that are in the area, definitely go onto the internet, go to floodsmart.gov.
So you've seen the changes over the years. How long have you been in business?
This agency's been in business. We're actually just hitting our year mark officially.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. We've been in town here since March. But when we originally started, I was housed out of our farmer's office in Parsippany, which was a temporary housing location until I found, a place where I wanted to go, which I'm a local resident, and, to bring this agency into town just made the most sense. So that's why we're here, and we're happy to be here.
So what types of insurance do you sell? How could you help people?
We do everything. I mean, right down to, like we were talking about flood, we do home, life, business, auto, workers' comp, so there's really nothing I cannot do. And if for some reason it doesn't fit, with farmers, we can do it with our brokers that we're able to use. So we really can serve people well in the community, and that goes right to homes on the coastline, which a lot of people have a hard time getting insurance on those.
People buy insurance online,
Yep.
And then they need to file a claim or they have a question, and you're there trying to get into a website. You're trying to call somebody. You're on hold. Well, somebody that deals with a professional like you walk right to your office and you're there. And that is very important.
Yes, absolutely. And I also, I provide my cell phone number. It's my personal cell phone number, and I have, it's on my business cards, it's on my email, and I welcome all my clients anytime that they need to call me with claim questions, whether it's Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, doesn't matter. You can call me, and that's how I make myself available.
Young drivers, new drivers, people buying new cars, you need to update, change insurance companies, insurance cards. It's important to have somebody you have access to, not just for convenience, just for your sanity. Let me stop over here before I head over to Wayne Subaru or whatever you do. It's very important, Glenn, and it's good to see you in town.
And what about the upcoming Uber and Lyft drivers? Like, what if you're one of those? Do you handle insurance for that?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, Greta. Yeah, we're one of. Honestly, I think we may be the only company in the state that actually will cover Uber or Lyft drivers, which is a misconception. So if there are any that are listening that are Uber or Lyft drivers, there's an endorsement that we add on to your personal auto policy, which gives you coverage for up to the point where you do pick up your fares, and then at that point they know their Uber or Lyft insurance covers them from that point. But if any of the other insurance companies knew about them using their car for Uber or Lyft, they wouldn't cover a claim.
You never know, right?
You never know.
A lot of times, once a year, you get that letter from your mortgage. Send me proof of insurance.
Yep.
And it's a tap dance trying to get one. Dealing with somebody local and live and somebody as friendly as you, that's how you get the face cover sheet. You walk in your office, get it in there, or else, the mortgage companies, it seems like they charge double or triple for homeowners insurance if they include it or escrow it in your mortgage. That doesn't happen when you buy from a reputable insurance agency like yours. What about discounts?
Oh, yeah. We have several discounts and a lot of discounts that, other insurance companies wouldn't even have. But, we have your normal bundling discounts. So, if, we did your home, your auto, business all together. Each one of those could get a discount. Life insurance, that would get a discount as well. And we also provide discounts for a lot of our heroes in the area. So police officers, firemen, EMTs, teachers, And those are special discounts that we had to get, special approval of, obviously, through the state, and they approved us to get discounts for those types of occupations. So it just goes to show what kind of company Farmers is. They really want to try to give back to the community and the people that help out.
You've seen it all probably in the years you've been in the business. Can you share with us one of the interesting stories without revealing a name, or who it happened to, one of the more unusual claims that you've seen, or something that tickled your funny bone? Because I know no matter what anybody does for a living, they do have a funny story.
Yeah, it's funny. The first thing that came to mind is actually, prior to me being with Farmers, I worked for State Farm Insurance and an independent agency. And while working at the independent agency, which I was there for a good 12 years, we did have a claim come in, and, it was very unfortunate. But, when you think about it now with the way that Farmers does their commercials, you can kind of picture this in your mind. This is a nice house, newer house, and the family went away on vacation, and they had their in-laws coming by to check on the house. While doing so, the mother or the father had used the bathroom upstairs, and they had left. And the family came home a week later, and the whole entire house was flooded.
Wow!
And from top floor all the way down to the basement. So whatever was going on upstairs in the bathroom, the water just never stopped the whole entire time, and it was a disaster.
Like from Home Alone. Remember Home Alone?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that covered?
That's covered.
Could you imagine?
I don't know what I would do.
The say it wasn't me.
Sheetrock shot. Ceilings are shot.
Yeah.
Beams are shot. That's unbelievable. That's a good story.
Right down into the basement.
Hey, can we go back to that Uber thing for a minute? Because this is where the world is going. Are we saying that if Greta and I need a lift to the airport and we get into somebody's car, take a ride to the airport, and the guy driving us, that's an Uber driver, he gets in a car accident, are we covered for that as passengers?
It's a good question. So what happens is if they're not, like I said, we're one of, I don't even know how many that actually will provide coverage for you, for the driver, up until they get into the app. So once they turn the app on, I don't know if you've ever used it before, but basically what happens is they're driving around and they say, all right, I'm going to pick up a fare now. I'm going to turn on my app. And once they do that, then at that point is when our insurance will pick up coverage.
Okay,
right?
so for your particular fare that you're going into that particular Uber or Lyft driver. So the minute
No. So the Uber driver is saying they're going to say, okay, I'm going to work right now. I'm going to turn on my app. Mm-hmm. So they turn on their app. So now they're working. So that's considered them at that point would be considered working. So for that's excluded coverage on a normal auto policy. Ooh. For Farmers, we add in an endorsement which gives him coverage at that point until he picks up a fare. So while he's driving around, Greta, you're going to say, all right, I need a ride to the airport. Let me pick an Uber driver. So you hit your app, and then, he's on his way to come get you. As soon as he gets to your door, the app is going to say, all right, we're picking up our fare. So now as soon as he picks up the fare, my insurance would then cease, and then Lyft or Uber's insurance then picks up.
Oh, okay.
All right?
Right.
So now you're in the car with whomever going to the airport, and something did happen. You do have coverage, and it would be under Uber or Lyft's insurance. Mm.
This is a perfect example why you have to talk to Glenn. I lost you halfway. I
understood after.
You understood that?
Because it starts from one point, and the minute you get into the car, it's different, and vice versa. When you step out, it's different. You know what? And that's personal use of insurance. But what about a fixture like in a house? Houses that have oil tanks. Or, some are above ground, some are underground. What's the story with that?
Yeah, and that's another issue. There's some homes, in the area that have old oil tanks. They're underground, and getting insurance, they're pretty limited. We do offer insurance for those types of homes. Again, it just boils back down to, whether or not they've had any claims, regarding the oil tank. And usually if they did, it's because they were trying to get the tank out of the ground or something, so it wouldn't even be an issue at that point. But yeah, I mean, we literally can take care of anybody, at least get them a quote. If it doesn't fit, then so be it. But we can definitely get anybody a quote, regardless of where the oil tank is.
I don't know, over the past 50 years, one of the most underrated occupations is an insurance man, because nobody wants to know about it until they need it.
Yep, for sure.
You definitely need to call 973-658-4221, 256 Wanacue Avenue in Pompton Lakes. This is Glenn Huther. He knows his stuff, and he's here to help us. And he chose to open a business in our town to serve our community, which says a lot about Glenn. He lives here, works here, owns a business here. Thank you for what you do, Glenn. And don't be a stranger. Glenn Huther and the Farmers Insurance Agency. You have the questions, he has the answers. Glenn, thank you for joining us this morning. I learned a lot.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Greta. I appreciate your time.
Glenn Huther from Farmers Insurance.